Hello everybody and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to take a look at the Twilight Codex Volume 2 Affinity, which is a free-to-play print-and-play expansion for Twilight Imperium 4th edition. We're going to look at this stuff through the PDF directly from the website because I don't have it printed out, and I think it'll be easier to navigate through the stuff and zoom in and show you as well. So we'll do that. If you didn't check out the Codex 1 video that came out recently, checked it out first, and this is the codex that came out after Prophecy of Kings was already released, so there may or may not be stuff in there that you need from the expansion. Just a heads up there. So let's just dive straight in and click through the PDF and talk about the stuff in it. So there's the credits and a introduction contents page. We'll skip down through this bit of lore here. I believe this Twilight Imperium Members of the Imperium is a role-playing game, an RPG supplement for their Genesis system role-playing game. I don't know too much about that, but I guess they're going to be releasing that in summer 2021. Anybody wants to talk about that in the comments, give us the information. We'll see if there's anything useful in there. So if there's any RPG fans out there who want to play some Twilight Imperium RPG, you'll have something there to do that with in the future. There's plenty of lore and forward stuff from Dane Beltrami, who talks about the sort of the timing of the codex, and he hopes to do more and that sort of stuff, which is worth reading. I'll let you do that in your own time. And then there's this really well written lore piece that goes on for 4 full pages with some nice full page art of Titans of Old and the Nazroka in there for you to enjoy, which I will encourage you to do also in your own time. This codex, it has fewer bits that are kind of like tweaks to the gameplay or new things. It has just a lot of convenient stuff in it, to be honest. So there's these faction reference cards, which we'll look at in the other file in a little while. And also the Alliance reference cards. Now, these are really useful. These are cards that you can give to other players when you have an alliance with them. So say if I give to you my Alliance promissory note and I'm the Nomad, I also give you this Nomad Alliance reference card that tells you what my character can do that you're able to use as well. So in the case of this one, you would also be able to produce your flagship without spending resources if you were allied with me and I was the Nomad. So instead of having to like look over the other side of the table, you could have this card at your disposal and you just know what you can do. So that's kind of cool. Following on from that, we get to the Ixthian artifact section. So this is the new stuff. This is stuff that they devised just for the codex. That's just new stuff in the game. They focused on relics here. So this is definitely Prophecy of Kings content. So the first relic is this one here, which is the Lost Titan prototype, JRXS455-0, which is quite different. All right, so you've got this in the relic deck, and it has action, exhaust this agent, so it's in place of a different agent, and choose a player. That player may spend 3 resources to place a structure on a planet they control. If they do not, they gain a trade good. So you're mostly going to be doing this for yourself, choosing yourself. And yeah, I mean, placing structures means placing space docks. It means placing PDS units. So if there's no construction strategy card available, you've got this. So that's pretty cool. So that's very different relic to the other ones that are in the deck. So very unusual one. And as the text here says, the next 2 are less divergent from the rest of the relic deck. So these 2 relics are, first one, Nano Forge, which reads, action, attach this card to a non-legendary non-home planet you control. Its resource and influence values are increased by 2, and it is a legendary planet. This action cannot be performed once attached. So you can stick it on Mechatol Rex if you want. Usually they specify that you can't do it on that, but it doesn't say that here. There are other relics that are, there are other things that involve legendary planets, like some points cards and some abilities. So this adds another legendary planet for that stuff if you play the game with this in it. The other one is the Dynamis Core, which reads, while this card is in your play area, your commodity value is increased by 2. So if you're the Emirates of Fakan, your commodities are 8, which is amazing. And then there's an action, purge this card to gain trade goods equal to your printed commodity value plus 2. So you could just get this and just fill up your trade goods, fill up your commodities tournament trade goods, get 2 extra if you really wanted to. So that's not bad. It's probably not as good as some of the other ones in the deck, but it's interesting. It might be the difference between a couple of objectives and not if you get it at the right time. So just print them out and stick them into your decks, guys. Continuing on, we get to the Pax Magnifica section, which is scenarios again. As I mentioned in the first video, I'm not big on these variants. I prefer to play Twilight Imperium the way I like it, with a little bit of mystery and adding all these rules. There's enough rules in the game. I don't need more, you know. So if anybody has tried this Alliance game variant, which seems to be like a team mode where it's like teams of 2 going up together, let me know how you get on with it. Tell me if it was fun. It's not something that I intend to play unless I've got like a lot of games in a row and I want to do something different. So yeah, just calling that out, something that might be really fun, but I don't know. So you tell me, guys. There's a whole bunch of scenarios. There's the Nexus here, which is like community-based stuff. So somebody has done a bunch of different maps that use the warp lanes. So this is a 3-player map that uses quite a lot of hexes of warp lanes. So it's very tight, very, very close map with not a lot of space. So maybe not that many fleets, probably a quick playing game. Scenario based, not something I'm going to give a try myself, but I'm curious if anybody else out there thinks anything about it. Let me know. Again, a 4-player one for warp lanes. Then there is a 5-player one with warp lanes, and this 6-player one. It just looks crazy where everybody lives really close together at the start, and Mechazol Rex is just reachable for everybody like right away. Seems really chaotic. Might be a lot of fun. And then there are 2 more. There is a 7-player, which also uses a lot of hyperlanes, and then the 8-player one, which is just, I mean, I haven't played 8-player Twilight Imperium. This guy here is going to have an interesting game. Lots of stuff around them and lots of warp lanes around them. But there you go. That's the main body of the Codex too. So at a glance, it's kind of like, oh, there's not a lot in there. Honestly, if you're not into the scenarios, there's some ads for some books and there's a few rule changes, but there's not a huge amount going on there. But that's why it's important to take a look at the other file, which is the cards, which it looks like this, which I'm just going to turn around here. And I'll just show you that there is actually quite a lot in here. It doesn't look like it at start, but when you go into the file, there's loads of stuff. So these are the Alliance reference cards. I think these are really good. These are really useful. We've described them already. These are the ones that you hand over to somebody when you give them your Alliance promissory note. And again, you've got these lovely card backs that if you're getting these printed out, the person who's printed it for you will be able to do a really professional job. And there's a few pages of these, and then the relics here as well. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was these racial reference cards. So these are new. They're going to be upside down for a second. Let me just turn them around. These basically condense all of that information, the stuff from my videos basically, and all of the different things, all the racial technologies, promissory notes, your leaders, what your flagship does, all of your faction abilities, all your starting units, all your starting technology onto one thing. That's like a reference. But interestingly, and this is the thing I wanted to talk about most in this video, was they also mention a complexity rating for each faction. And I thought we'd just talk about those and see if we agree with them together. So the Arborec have a complexity of 3. Okay. Yeah, I get that, maybe. They produce in a weird way. They've got a few finicky things going on. Do you guys think they're a complexity 3? I think they might be a 2 or a 3. I'm not sure. What do you think? So moving on to the Argent Flight. So they're a complexity 1. I guess for me they're probably a 2. Maybe. Would I give them to a new player? Probably. So that's probably why they're a complexity 1. They're powerful in my opinion, but I don't think they're crazy complicated. So yeah, I kind of agree with the complexity 1 rating here, I suppose. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments on that one. The Vilray Cabal, definitely complexity 3. They've got a lot of weird rules. They've got their crazy little space dock gravity rifts. Yeah, they're a bit mad. They're a bit crazy. The way they capture units is also insane. So yeah, if there was a possibility to have a complexity 4, these guys would probably be the ones to give it to. So I definitely agree with that. Embers and Muat, complexity 3. I actually don't agree with this one. I think they're more of a 2. They're definitely not on the same level as the Vilray Cabal, that's for sure. I think new players can take these guys relatively easily. Maybe the main problem, like analysis process wise, would be the hero ability, or the fact that you start a little weak and you have got a Warsun, but you don't have a lot else going on. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the start of the game that gives them that complexity rating here. I don't know. You guys tell me. I think they're complexity 2 personally, but I'm willing to be convinced. The Imperium, I haven't played as these guys yet, so I don't feel fully qualified to talk about it. But I think this one makes a lot of sense to me. They're not scary. They're not one of the ones that I would be terrified of trying to explain to somebody. Ghost of Krios complexity 2, yeah, that makes sense. They're weird. Their wormholes are kind of fun. They're kind of different. There's they've got a very different playstyle to a lot of the other factions, so not quite on the complexity 3 scale, but I think the 2 is reasonable. And then scrolling down past these nice card backs to the other guys. Emirates of Hakan, complexity 1, totally agree with that. They're traders. They like to trade, like to stockpile resources. Should be pretty straightforward. Jolnar, complexity 1, yes, they're easy to use. They love technology. At face value, they're quite simple. But if you are playing, you've got to keep a lot of that technology in your head. So they'd be on a high 1, maybe close to a 2 for me. Definitely very strong faction as well. The Elzebon X, the complexity 1, yeah, these guys are combat orientated. They like to shoot things. That's good. They're a good starting faction for somebody who hasn't played before. Likewise, Barony of Letnev, 1 complexity. Yeah, I agree with that. Spending trade goods to re-roll, having that extra fleet limit. It's just more stuff and more fighting, really, as well. Kind of similar to the Elzebon X in the way that they hit your brain when you're trying to learn them. So that makes sense to me. The Mahakji Sorcerers complexity 3, absolutely, yes. The whole thing with taking people's tokens and doing all their crazy everybody hates us stuff. Yeah, you're making enemies. You're gonna have to know what to expect from multiple enemies at a time. They're very hard to play as successfully, but they're mega powerful. So complexity 3, I agree with that 100%. The Mentat Coalition complexity 3, kind of. Like, the whole pillaging thing is complicated. Like, keeping an eye on people doing transactions and the amount of trade goods they got, it can be tiresome at times, and it can be something that you can forget. So for that alone, I would give them a bit of a complexity bump. So I can understand the number 3 being given to them there. Yeah, maybe. And then scrolling down here to the next batch, the Nalu Collective, complexity 2. Yeah, I agree with that. They're not very easy, but they're not majorly complicated. The whole thing about their upgraded fighters being their own ships that don't require capacity, that takes a little bit getting used to. Yeah, there's nothing major going on with them though. Nazroka, complexity 1, yes, I agree with that. I've played as them now a few times. They're quite easy to grok, easy to use. Once you understand exploration and the basics of the game and how mechs work, and you need that for any faction. These guys are just good at that, meaning that it's easier to figure it out. So I totally agree with that. Necrovirus complexity 3, definitely copying other people's technology and trying to be aware of all the technology that all people have. That's something that's tricky particularly for new players. So I totally agree with the 3 there. The Nomad, number 1, yeah, that's good. A couple of extra leaders, not that much to deal with at the start of the game. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's a good complexity rating for them. Clan of Sar, not having a home system, so complexity 2. Yeah, that makes sense. They play differently. Again, they're very strong. They're really powerful. They win a lot, so maybe there comes a little bit of stress there to meet that expectation. Complexity 2 makes sense to me. Sarlacc Nor, complexity 2. To play them well, sure. To play them at all, no. I don't think they're that complicated to learn. But to win with them, definitely. So I'm I'm willing to go in the middle there as well. So that makes sense to me, yeah. I think we're near the end now. Federation of Saul, complexity one, definitely. Lots of units, uh, lots of carriers. Go take over planets and hold on to them forever. Complexity one, that makes a lot of sense. They're also quite easy to win with, so I agree with that analysis there. Titans of Rule, complexity two. Yeah, they've got some funny stuff going on. They've got tokens and they've got different things, and the way their PDSs are different. And yeah, there's a bit of learning involved there. They're really fun to play as well. So I think that's why they're not at three. Yeah, I agree with that rating as well. The Winu, complexity two. I'm curious if people feel that the Winu are easier to win with now that Prophecy Kings has come out. I haven't played as them yet. I'm dying to try them actually. I must put them on top of my list for the next game. Pre Prophecy of Kings, I'd agree with this for complexity. So I guess, yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. The Extra Kingdom, complexity one, yeah, just defend basically. So yeah, I agree with that one. And then two more one complexities here. The first one being the Yin Brotherhood. I don't know. I feel like they could be a two. To play them well is not that easy. The whole indoctrination thing, like stealing infantry and how that Yin Spinner and all that stuff works, is interesting. I think probably give them a two myself. And then the Sorrow Tribes complexity one. Yeah, sure. Just take your time reading your action cards, and you should be fine. That's the main thing with these guys. And they start with two carriers, so you can kind of fly around at the start as well and pick up some stuff. And they like to hang around. And I think maybe the reason why they're complexity one is that if you understand, you want to wait for things to come to you, and you want to wait for other people to use up all their actions, and then you go and do a few things together. You've got the time to analyze the board and do your things yourself. So yes, that makes sense to me. So there you go. We've talked through the second codex. It's a bit of a weird codex. And by weird, I mean, at face value, it doesn't look like there's a lot going on in it, really, when you first download the PDF and look through it. But you really need to look at that second file, the printable file, that gives you those race reference cards. And that's the meat of it, really. It's a quality of life codex that kind of gives your games a bit of streamlining. It's also, I'd say they are really handy for new players. I think they'd be really, really good. So not as much tweaking of gameplay, not much new stuff, but just reference material and a bunch of fun things like those relics. So that's all there is in the Codex Volume 2 Affinity. You can get this online printed. You can bring it to a print store and they'll print it for you. I don't feel like this one is as essential as the first Codex by any means. If you're only going to get one, definitely get the first one. But this is nice to have, and if you have the motivation to go get it printed out for yourself, absolutely do that. It's worth it. So that's it for the video. That's Affinity. I hope that FFG put out another codex in the near future, hopefully with a shorter time frame between 1 and 2. That'd be nice. I look forward to that. So this has been Rulebreaker rambling on about random Twilight Imperium things. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's been great talking to you all. I will see you guys very soon. So long.